What's going on, guys? This is the 5 Yard Pass podcast with me, Suddy, and this is Sham, and it is final day of Premier League season review. So all 30 games have been played. Obviously, Man City was champions 3 games ago, United in second, and the battle for third, fourth, and fifth, I guess, was a big one. And we'll kind of start with that, Sham. But overall, the season has been interesting. It was a kind of a test, COVID kind of tested the players, and I think massive credit has been given to City for what we've said many times. They did an in-season transformation where they won 3 out of their first 9 games, scored about 10 goals in that period, and then just no, we got to change this up, and they did, and they went that 25 game wins in a row. United just thought, for a while, United thought they had the league. I think Leicester were on top, Southampton were on top, Everton, Villa, you name it, everyone was on top. And Man City just took it from January.
Yeah.
There you go. So Man City just took it from, I'd say by January, we kind of knew. And I think for me, when United lost to Sheffield 1-0 at home, I think that kind of cemented City, not that United were ever in it, in my opinion, but I think that kind of just made it kind of very, very much certain that City wouldn't win the league. But overall, I mean, before we get into the top 4 battle, I just wanted to say City have done a remarkable job. And also, obviously, a shout out to Kun Aguero as well, Mr. Sergio Aguero, for ending his career as the best ever record for a single club goal tally.
Yeah, it's like City they had 12 points from their first 8 games. They've lost their last 2, so really it's like, what's that, 74 points from like 30 games, which is pretty phenomenal stuff. That's that's a pretty impressive record. I think one thing you could see this season is that the teams, given there's very little breaks between games. I think United had 51 games in a row where they were playing basically every 3-4 days. So it's like half a year of games that were just, and United were in a bit of a unique situation because they were going far in a lot of the comps, but you could see very clearly teams with cohesion did a lot better than teams without, because you couldn't train a lot. The teams couldn't really train. So teams that had cohesion and built that, like United's, like they're built over the season. City also built over the season. Teams like West Ham, teams like Leeds United that had cohesion within their ranks and an understanding of the systems and that sort of thing, those teams tended to overachieve. Whereas teams that like Liverpool, for example, missing important personnel, Chelsea took a while to click in a gear. Those teams underperform against their expectations just for various reasons. But the main thing is that they didn't have time outside games to work on cohesion, so they had to figure it out in game.
So we'll get to that bit then. This is the biggest topic of the weekend, the top 4 race, or the fourth for 4th place. At one point, Chelsea weren't making it when they were losing 2-1 to Villa. But I think Leicester shot themselves in the foot. And Liverpool, we'll start with Liverpool then. Liverpool had to win their last 4 games to even have it wasn't in their control, but all they had to do was win the last 4 games, and they turned up for it, man. Fabinho and Thiago turned up when it was time to matter. Obviously, Alisson as well with that amazing bit of drama, but Liverpool looking a bit more and more like they did 2 years ago. Now, the question I have is, like, we both agreed that Leicester were going to miss out, and what we said came true. I think Leicester they won't quite, because it was out of their hands as well. My question for you with Liverpool is, do you think we're going to see these levels, the levels from the last 2 years from Liverpool next season, with Van Dijk, especially with Van Dijk not playing the Euros?
So Liverpool, I think they won 8 of their last 10. Like, they came home with a massive rush. And the key game was the win at Old Trafford. When they won that game, if they lost that, they were out. When they won it, the destiny came back into their hands. And that's all you need to give a good team. And they are a good team. They underachieved. They had the worst home season ever by Liverpool side. But they are a good team. They have some really good players. They're on 69 points. I think it's foolish to assume that they'll end up with less than that next season. They should realistically end up somewhere in the 80s with the squad that they've got. I think Van Dijk adds that. I think that Henderson has missed parts. Jota's missed parts. Alisson has missed parts as well. So there is ability for them. And particularly, like you're saying, Van Dijk's not playing the Euros. I think that's going to be a big thing. How far they go next season will depend a lot on how he comes back, because it's a cruciate ligament injury. We can't just assume he's going to come back and be the same Van Dijk. If he does, he'll add a lot to Liverpool. If he comes back and he may have lost the art of pace. There was a fantastic Juventus defender, Ciro Ferrara. So he played in the mid-90s and in the early 2000s, and he he lost pace when he had I think it was a cruise ship, but it was quite a bad knee injury. So how Van Dijk comes back is very important to Liverpool because they all walk taller with him around. And how Liverpool sort out that midfield. If he comes back, Fabinho moves in the midfield, and what happens in that midfield is going to be very important to them. Liverpool should have learned some lessons this season. I think that they were, particularly in the fullback positions, very they didn't have a lot of depth in those positions. I think that when they got injured, they didn't really show enough adaptability as well. They didn't really try enough things when they were not playing well. But they did show the class. They finished the season very well and showed the class that good teams have. So they will come back. The question is going to be, given that Man City have 86 points, is 86, and they lost 2 of their last 5. So are Liverpool going to improve by 20 points and get to 90? That's maybe a bridge too far.
Well, Sham,
No, it's a very tough question. I do think they'll improve. My question is how much they'll improve.
Those 20 points were the 6 games in a row they lost over December, January, I believe it was. Yeah, December, January. So I mean, you can see the gap. Whereas if you look at United, you can't really, you're looking at points dropped all over the season. Liverpool is there was an obvious period. I think we all kind of had a bit of fun when they were losing. Like, don't get me wrong, it was fun when they were losing. But like I said in the last video, I think Liverpool have to come back because as much as we love to see them lose, we love to see them against United, but we love to see them push all the way. I'm going to move a little bit to Chelsea now. We wanted to talk about. I want to ask you this: Chelsea seem to have. I mean, what's his name? Tuchel, as is how you pronounce his name. Tuchel seems to have
Tuchel?
So much. No, it is Tuchel. Yeah. So he seems to have all this confidence in Timo Werner and none in Tammy Abraham. They've ended up getting the Champions League spot. They're in the Champions League final. That's they don't need that anymore to get the Champions. Obviously, they want to win it. Why, do you see them improving much more with the squad they have? Do you think there's Hakim Ziyech and Kai Havertz and Timo Werner will improve next season, or do you think there needs to be a bit more change? Because they started off really well with Tuchel, but they haven't really done much since that win against Man City.
Yeah, they got better quite quickly under Tuchel, but they kind of plateaued after that, I think.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I wouldn't say plateau, man. I'd say they dropped off. Big drop off. Not even a plateau.
Yeah. I mean, fair. They lost 2 of their last 3. But they have. Maybe they have dropped off a bit. Yeah, but they're sort of there or thereabouts, I think. It's interesting with them because Lampard was a manager who scored a lot of goals, but also conceded a lot. They're a team now that they seem to try and strangle teams out of the game. They keep a lot of possession. They stack when you play sort of 3-5-2 or the 3-4-3. You're really trying to retain the ball. You have those extra players in those central spaces to try and do that. What happens is that they do find it hard to score goals. Is Werner capable of becoming an elite level striker? Because if you want to win the league, you need a striker who's one of the top 4 or 5 in the league. Is Werner capable of becoming that? I don't really think so. I think he's going to be a bit of a wide player that can score goals. A good Robin, but not necessarily a Batman. Abraham, I don't think as well is going to quite reach that level. I do think Chelsea, the one thing Chelsea need more than anything else is a striker. I do think they'll also go look for a centre back. I wouldn't be surprised if Varane ends up there because they've got the money. But someone like, say, if you've got Kane, Mbappe, Ronaldo, and Haaland on the market in the summer, you go and get one of them. Haaland, I think, would suit them best because with the possession game that they play, they can try and knock balls through to him to score goals. But Mbappe reeks quality. Kane might stay in London. He might prefer to stay in London. I think that'd be the only reason he goes to Chelsea. Ronaldo, I don't really see going to Chelsea just because of the United connections. But if they can get a striker and then secondly a centre back, I think that they're, in a way, there's less variables about them than there are with Liverpool and even United. I think that they're more settled because Tuchel's got them settled, and they've actually had a pretty good second half of the season when you consider where they were. They've made the Champions League final, which they've only ever done once before, and they
twice.
Oh yeah, twice. John Terry slipped my mind. Yeah, but I actually think that they're potentially the closest to challenging City. Um, I think Liverpool can, but I think they have more pieces to get right. I do think
Mm,
United have probably need to get more pieces in. I think United have kind of done the best that they can with what they have. So
mm.
um, there's potential there with Chelsea there.
Well, yeah, we'll move on to Leicester as well. We wanted to talk about the top four race, and we knew they'd miss out. We had a strong inkling they would, and they have. Now, if I was a Leicester fan, and you told me, would you get the FA Cup at the end of the season, or would you want the Champions League? I'd take the trophy, man. And there's something about it's not just the FA Cup; it's the trophy. The idea of winning a trophy, it just shows for me, it shows more progress. They had a great game,
They've never won
and
it either.
yeah, they've never
First
won
FA
it
Cup.
as well. Yeah, they've never won it as well. It was a big moment. Unfortunately, Schmeichel on the last of the season, he huge mistake for the own goal. Now, in my opinion, Rodgers is one of the best managers in the world now, and I'll say for a very specific reason is that he shows he can build a club with very little resources as well, or maybe a lot. He has more than most have,
On the
but the way he's built a culture at the
if
club,
I can just jump in and you can answer this as you
yeah,
go
yeah,
on. There was a
yeah,
whole discussion on the kickoff about is he elite? Because I get what you're saying and I agree. But
yeah,
there's a difference between being a good manager, what you have, and being an elite manager. So if you want to answer that as well with what you're saying.
yeah. Is he elite? Is he elite? I think he is, man. I think he is. I think he's an elite manager. I think okay, look at this, right? Klopp, some of Klopp's parts of Klopp's jigsaw was taken off him this year, and and they did terribly. Okay, the only if you want to say elite, there's only Pep at the minute. Okay, Klopp is made. I don't think Pep's as good as Klopp. I think Pep has shown it this season. Yeah, okay, you can talk about the billions of dollars and all that, but Pep is elite. I think Guardiola's right up there next to Klopp, man. I think in the Premier League,
So
if
I'm
you
a bit
talk about
confused.
it,
You're saying Guardiola and Klopp are the two elite ones?
no, I think Pep is so far ahead of everyone else to,
Okay.
to do a transformation in season. I personally think if Pep had Liverpool with what they had, he would have done better. Points tally, he may not have won. He would have done much better. He wouldn't have let the 6 games go at home and all that. Just as a reference point, I'm saying Klopp is close to Pep, but not quite there. I think Rodgers it would be the third best manager if I
How
had to
close do
rank
you
them.
think he is to Klopp? Because I do think Klopp and Guardiola are the top two. How close do you think
I
Rodgers
think
is to that?
I think he's a Klopp light. So if you wanted to,
Poor man's
and
Klopp.
poor man's Klopp, he's built a very very good culture at Leicester, man. And it's not easy building culture at a club, man. And the thing that he has as an advantage is he has time. I think Leicester would never expect him to win a trophy.
Mm.
If you got close 5 years in a row, he'd stay in a job for his life. And now he's just bought himself probably another 5 years if he doesn't massively fuck it up. I think he's elite, man.
It's funny with both seasons. So last year they played United on the final day. And if I remember correctly, United scored the first, they won 2-0, but the first goal was scored about the 70-minute mark. And I believe it was from Bruno Fernandes penalty, from what I remember. So someone's obviously committed
It
a foul
was, yeah,
for that.
yeah.
Yeah. And then this season, I think if Schmeichel doesn't make that error, I reckon they hold on. I think that
Yeah,
I think that once it became 2-2, they realized, oh, we have to chase the game. And then Tottenham just did what Tottenham do and caught them on the counter. Bale
yeah,
comes off the bench and runs through everybody twice and scores.
yeah.
Um, so I think that if you think about it, they're 20 minutes away one year and they're 15 minutes away this year. It's really unfortunate, but they only have, I mean, they're 2-1 up in that game. They've lost 3 of their last 4. I get that there's injuries, but historically to have 66 points or 67 to make the Champions League, they're historically quite low numbers for a Champions League
Mm-hmm.
side.
Mm-hmm.
So they may have lost that chance because I do see the top 4 all being better next year.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's going to be more difficult for them. There's
Well,
already
let me
talk
ask you this, Sean.
there's
Well,
already
I'll,
talk about
I'll ask you.
Tielemans leaving. Vardy's a great player. I don't think he's going to be the same as what he was before. I just don't see it. Iniacho is going to have to step up, and Schmeichel's getting older as well. So it's going to be
Let me
harder
ask you
for them.
this then: Is there a better manager in the league besides Pep who can coach players to be better? I think every single player in the Leicester City, besides Vardy, who is old and he's probably has plateaued. He's very high level, but he's plateaued at a high level for years.
Mm.
I think there's very few, if not one or two, better managers at making players better. I don't think Ollie's elite. I don't think Ollie can make players much better than they already are.
No,
Pep, maybe Klopp. Rodgers is that man. Rodgers has made
Yeah.
Madison. You love you're the
Guardiola,
man crush
Klopp,
for Fofana.
Tuchel
Oh,
within
sorry,
a
go on.
system, but question mark. Moyes within a system, but question mark. Bielsa, same thing. Yeah, Rodgers is.
Tuchel. This is Tuchel, Sham. Tuchel is like a guy who teaches you how to pick up women with certain pickup lines. He knows exactly what you have to say in the moment,
Yeah,
and then that's it.
yeah.
I just don't think players get better under him. I think he knows how to make players win. You know, the
He knows
same
how
way
to play
Mourinho never.
scrum.
Yeah, he knows how to make like Mourinho as well. I wouldn't necessarily say Mourinho made players any better, but he
Mm.
made players winners mentally. Rodgers makes players better, man, and that's why I guess I can. That's what I wanted to verbalize. I think that's why I think he's so elite. You know,
Yeah, and you're
he
right
just
in
tends
that
to shut up.
and you're right that there's not many managers that can do that. I mean, Arteta at Arsenal was kind of held up as the guy who was going to make him more better because he was Guardiola's number two, and that
Yeah,
hasn't really worked out for Arsenal.
yeah,
I can't think. You're right. Probably those three, as in Guardiola, Rodgers, and maybe Klopp. I think Liverpool. I think the players have gotten better, but I don't know if that's better from playing within a system in a certain way or just being better footballers.
yeah,
It's probably a bit of both.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, Rogers probably doesn't get enough credit for that.
Okay, let's leave Leicester for a side for a minute. So unfortunately, they bottled it, and they bottled it against professional bottlers. You know, of course, Spurs is going to make them. It's
Might be
transferable,
Spurs qualifying for the Europa
the
Conference
European
League.
Conference. But
Yeah.
look, Leicester's in the Europa League. They'll go in as one of the favorites without a doubt. With Juventus having made the Juventus made the Champions League by a point. So I think they go in one of the favorites, if not the favorites, to win that cup. Which another trophy for Rodgers. I mean, they should really be aiming for that. We'll go into what you wanted to talk about Leeds, but can we just quickly, just a really quick one on United. United came second this year in what I think was a 6.5 to maybe, if you want to push 8 out of 10 season, somewhere in that range. They had a good season. They could finish it with a trophy. They really should have beaten Leicester in the semi-final of the FA Cup. What do you think of United's season? I don't want to talk about transfers or anything. I just want you to talk about what do you think they've done well this season? What do you think they've done poorly? And what do you think of Ollie going forward?
Yeah, I'd give them a 7 out of 10 for the season.
Okay.
It's good season. They've done better than last. They've progressed from 8 points better than last season.
Mm-hmm.
Ollie's obviously they are a counter-attacking side, and they've gone through the whole season unbeaten. They've had a lot of games as well where they've come from behind. That's
Yep.
very hard when you are repeatedly playing games and you are falling behind and you have to fight back. So I
Mm.
think that the ability to fight back is a very underrated thing. I think they've broken the record for most points from losing positions.
Yeah, they
Um,
have. Yeah.
and a lot of that was away from home. Maybe the fact that there wasn't away fans helped them. I don't know. But
Mm-hmm.
that was one thing they did quite well. They got the most out of the players that he has as well. On
Mm-hmm.
the negative side, probably two things. One, home form was terrible. Home form probably
Mm-hmm.
cost them the title. They could have
Mm-hmm.
actually challenged for the title, and they should be disappointed that they didn't challenge for longer. But there seemed to be a lack of belief in that moment in January where City started grabbing it by the jugular. United didn't do that, and they had sort of a bad turn of results. That ability to break teams down when they need that one goal, they got to do it sometimes, but they didn't do it enough. The fact that you have 11 draws and 6 losses probably indicates that.
Mm-hmm.
They did suffer from having to start the season without really a preseason. They started shockingly. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and that didn't help them either, although you could say the same about City. And the other point is probably what you were saying about player development. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I'm inclined to give him a pass this season because of all the games they had to play without training. Um, but it's something that needs to be measured. I mean, he's Williams has gotten better, Shaw has got better, Maguire's got better. He's found a way to use Pogba, Greenwood's gotten better. But the players as a group, the average players are not getting better, you know? McTominay had a good season, but he's not getting better. Fred had an okay season, he's not getting better. Wan-Bissaka's not getting better. Players like that.
Yeah.
Rashford played injured and played quite well, but he's not getting better. So some players did, but some players didn't, and the whole group as a whole should be getting better. I feel that he needs more time to prove that point just because of this season, but he hasn't done it yet.
I think I will say I will give him credit for Shaw. Shaw has become the best left back in the league once again. It's taken him only 7 years to do it, but he for me
He looks
besides
best
Bruno.
fullback every year in Football Manager.
Yeah, besides Bruno, he's been a revelation this year. Just looked more assured, and you see once that side clicked, Maguire clicked, everything kind of clicked, and defense just seemed a bit more assured. But you're right. I think a lot of little things didn't help United's season. They've had a good season overall. Had they come 2 points or let's say 5 points behind City, like right till the end, if they push them right till the last two games, I think we would have given them 9.5 should they go win the UEFA League, the Europa Cup. Sorry, but I think going forward, if they do get the transfers they get, we'll talk about it another day. But if they get the transfers they get, I don't see why this team. There is something special about this team. They don't have the tenacity of the Liverpool from last year. They don't have the quality of Man City, but there's just something that seems to work when it has to work more
Yeah,
often than not.
absolutely.
Which is reflective. Which is reflective again. The Southampton game when Cavani scored in the last minute. West Ham when they came back from 1-0 down. And I think as well the penalty kind of situation with United at the minute, where everyone's saying United get more penalties than the others, it has to do with a lot that United gets in the box far more than a lot of other teams. And because they don't score a lot in the box, I think if I had to guess, I haven't looked at the numbers here, but if I had to guess, it's funnily enough due to poor finishing and poor decision making as to why United get a lot of penalties. Does that make sense? I wonder.
Poor decision making by defenders.
By United attackers. Well, I mean, penalties are poor decisions by defenders. I'm saying United getting into the box and not doing what they're supposed to do a second before get them more penalties than any other team.
I think as well, a lot of the United players have quick feet, like Rashford, Greenwood. like Greenwood. They move quite quickly, and I think they get react. If you're moving quickly with intent in the box, even if it's not the right way, it can confuse defenders and make defenders do rash things. I think that aspect of it is quite underrated as well.
Yeah, and overall, I think I'm quite happy with United's season.
I could be happy.
I kind of resigned. It's an interesting feeling because I resigned I was resigned early in the season when we kind of started these videos, and I said to you, I don't think United will ever win a league title again. I didn't think Ollie was up for it. I didn't think the club was up for it, and it kind of reflected. So the Super League kind of reflected it. But I've kind of changed a little bit in that sense. I think United can win a league title again. They'll never be what they were again. I just don't think they will ever be. I don't think any team will be. I think once Pep leaves City, it'll be a different story again. But it is nice to see that there's a bit more cohesion, there's a bit more direction, and overall an okay season, a good season.
One thing that United didn't
even better on Thursday.
That I didn't really say before was that they didn't really develop a lot of depth beyond the first 11. And they need to do for that is they need to go into the market and buy first 11 players, and the guys like your Freds and McTominays and your Martials and Rashford start having to fight for spots rather than be given spots. And
Luke Shaw being a great example.
Luke Shaw, exactly. Yeah. Tellez was gone. Remember, Tellez was supposed to play, but he got COVID, and then Shaw took his chance. So, I do think that sort of there's a lot of talk around sort of the winger, the centre back, and the defensive midfielder. Van der Beek played quite well with a very defensive midfielder alongside him on the weekend. I think that getting a good six is very important to what United do. I'd love to see him get a centre back as well and get Sancho. If they get those three, I'd be happy. Do you think United, that's enough for United, or do you think that they need to go and try and get a Kane, a Haaland, one of those players?
I haven't said a thought. It's a nice thought. My reflex reaction is fuck yeah, man. Go and get Haaland. Go and get. In fact, I prefer Kane. I think Kane is for me. Kane is the best version of Firmino, and I like Firmino. I think he's a great player. He's Firmino intelligent. He drops deep. Yeah, and you think about him and Harry Maguire being leaders of a team. You couldn't get a better leadership combo than that, in my opinion.
Kane and Maguire.
Yeah, two big characters, scoring goals, defending.
With Bruno as well. Yeah.
With Bruno, fucking that spine. I mean, that's the kind of Barcelona spine from back in 2008. But look, I have no kind of preference. I wanted to say though, look, I think Sancho will come. I think they will get another striker. And as far as the centre back goes, I don't know. I really don't know. I think
they're cluttering at Varane a bit. I'd love to see it. Varane would probably only come for the money. He's won everything he wants to win.
I mean, United have this pattern of a 18 to 24 month chase of players, and it seemed Maguire being the latest of that, and I think Sancho will eventually come. However, I wanted to say, did you watch a little bit of the last bit of the game against Wolves when Hannibal came on? And obviously Anthony Elanga? Elanga's goal, the header, was unreal, man. It
Langa's
was
goal
nice
was
to see.
really good.
And
And he missed a good chance a couple of minutes before, but the header was
yeah,
solid.
exactly.
It was a good cross from James as well.
I was just going to say that it was nice to see James. I can see James being a kind of Tony Valencia character where he'll just stay at United for 10 years. He's just happy to be there. And if you'd be like me,
I'd be happy.
I got Scottish, yeah, happy to be
like
there.
Nani and Anderson. So.
Yeah. Oh, Nani was
Nani
player,
when he first came was really good, but he just kind of didn't go on. Yeah.
Yeah, there's 3 or 4 years. His golden period. I mean, I think he was unbelievable. But yeah, look, that's United, and I think they've had a good season. And the only way to improve is to push City or Liverpool if it's next season right down to the wire. Anything else next season will be, I wouldn't say a failure, but wouldn't be as good. We get to what you want to talk about.
They need to break that sort of 80, 85 point barrier, and they're going to have to get players to do that.
Let's go to Leeds. Leeds, in my opinion, had one of the best seasons of any club for a couple of reasons. They entertained. They ran more than any other club by a fucking country mile, no pun intended. And I'd say they just went over expectation. What do you think?
Oh yeah, they're the classic double up guy at the casino, put everything in black and put it again. Like that's Leeds United, like the 18 wins and 15 losses with 5 draws. Like they just went hard every game, and to see that win, they won their last 4 games. Everybody was sort of thinking, oh, Leeds United would run out of legs. They won their last 4 games, man, and they were playing some good football. They were not scraping those wins. They the results like 3-1, 2-0, 4-0, 3-1. Like they really went for it, and yeah, they fully deserve 9th. It's a massive credit to that group of players. Bamford, who's a Chelsea reject, Phillips, who came through the system. They're kind of the star players now, touching on England. Bielsa's done a great job with that team. Funnily enough, they seem to concede a lot of goals at set pieces. That kind of is one thing that they could work on that would make them a lot better quicker. It probably cost them a couple of spots on the table, to be honest, but they finished 3 points behind Tottenham, and Tottenham are 4 points off the Champions League. So that's 59 points for a promoted side is fantastic.
Yeah. And not just that, I mean, who was promoted last season was West Brom and Fulham. They've both gone down. And if you look at that point difference as well, not just 59, they're 31, 32 points ahead of those two sides.
Leeds scored more points than Fulham and West Brom put together.
Yeah, 62. And if you think about it as well, you think about the teams they've leapfrogged. We're talking about what we thought were top 8, top 10 teams: Everton, Villa, Wolves. Fucking Southampton was on the top of the table one stage, man.
Yeah.
So I think they've done magnificently, and I think what they have to avoid now is becoming an Everton type club where your Fellaini goes to United, or or your Jack Grealish might leave. You need to keep that core of players, or maybe Bielsa doesn't, man. Maybe Bielsa needs willing players rather than talented players. What do you think?
Yeah, it would be interesting with Leeds, because you talk about, say, Tielemans at Leicester, or you talk about some of the Arsenal players or Harry Kane. No one thinks, which Leeds player is going to be going to a big club. No one really thinks that. Calvin Phillips would be a perfect player for Man United. He won't go because of the rivalry, but that type of player in that position would be amazing. Or even Bamford United. You know what I mean? Like, how well would Bamford play with Bruno? Like, but no one thinks that. No one thinks. Even they I forgot the goalkeeper's name, but he's a very good goalkeeper, the French guy.
Fucking, I can't remember his name now.
Yeah, Jesus. But like they've got good players, but maybe there's this perception that they sort of just play the Bielsa way, and that might not be so compatible. I disagree. I think that there's probably a couple of guys there. I don't know. Bielsa seems to have created a great spirit at Leeds. So would you leave if you're 9th? Would you leave if you're 1 win off Europe? If they won one more game, I mean, they're a game and goal difference away from Tottenham. They're that a lot of them Europe, and I think that should be their goal next season.
See, you're right. A lot of them are rejects from other clubs. I hate to use the rejects, but just to kind of paint the picture. And a lot of them would have been there at the start of this Bielsa project. And a lot of them would say, we could take this to Europe and then that could be the end of this cycle. This is a long cycle that they're going through, longer than most clubs. Like, you know what I'm trying to say? Right? This cycle of these
And
Leeds players going
they
through.
won't have a lot of players playing international football over the summer.
Exactly. That's my next point. They probably feel, fuck, we'll come back in July. We'll have a crack at the top four, top six. It wouldn't surprise, like, top four will be a push because, like you said, Chelsea, Liverpool will be up there again, no doubt. Chelsea will be up there. They can go, like, we deserve to be where Leicester is. You know, we deserve that kind of. We think we can get there. I'd love to see it, man. We said Leeds would come around this position.
Yeah.
Most
I
people
said they
said
finished top half, which they did. Yeah.
we both did, and we both said, you know, contrary to like a lot of kind of more much more kind of respected people in this space, thought Leeds would kind of go straight down. We saw Leeds for what they were, man. Very good footballing side, very hardworking, and at the end of the day, the hard work does prevail, I believe.
Yeah.
You know, so
absolutely.
and it's definitely shown. And great, like fucking great, man.
Why can't they make the Champions League next year?
Absolutely, and what they'd be looking at is as well as the Euros, they're going this condensation of the league, condensing of the league. Sorry, we don't have European football next season. Most of our players aren't playing in the Euros. That would be the motivation. So yeah,
They'll get more motorball sessions in, and they'll dominate. Yeah. I do think they need probably another centre back and probably just someone in midfield to hold possession a little bit better. But most of the pieces are there. And Bielsa is very precise with the play. Like if you give him a list of like players to get, he'll pick one player out of like 20 and go, I want this player, no one else. Like he's very precise with, like he picked Bamford specifically. He didn't pick anyone else. He's like Bamford or bust, you know? He's like that. He'll know exactly what he wants to get. The Leeds owner as well has built a bit like Leicester, built a good reputation with
in the city,
people at the club and the fans, which makes a big difference.
Yeah. Well, I think as well, just on a final point, they've cemented themselves as a Premier League club again. I don't see them, the way they play, I don't see them going down. The structure of the club dictates that as well. And Bielsa in a Ferguson or a Wenger kind of way will get exactly what he wants, or within 1 or 2% of what he wants in terms of players, in terms of money, in terms of training facilities. And so he deserves it.
It's strange with Leeds in England because they're from Yorkshire. So Yorkshire's massive with cricket. It's got a proud rugby history. It's only really got Leeds United as a football team. Burnley is from that area. But when you think of Yorkshire football, you only really think of Leeds United. But they've only ever won 3 titles. Like they're not an incredibly successful club. And even when they were very successful under Don Revie, they were kind of known as the Nearly Men even then. They'd won 2 league titles, should have won more. They lost the Champions League final to Bayern Munich. They've got that reputation. It's strange that such a proud, like people from Yorkshire, they don't say I'm from England, they say I'm from Yorkshire. You know, there's an identity there. But it's strange that hasn't really worked with football. Like it hasn't really clicked into something successful there because with cricket, even until 1990s, you had to be from Yorkshire to play for Yorkshire. It was that proud, and Yorkshire is from memory, I think it is the most successful club in cricket, or the county in cricket. They're a bit more liberal with those rules now, but like it's even half of the England cricket team comes from Yorkshire, so it's a proud area, but it just hasn't clicked with football for some reason.
I think they'd be good next season. Well, I do remember Leeds as well. Just on that point, they'd be wary not to repeat the mistakes of the late 90s when they just spent for fun, and then they went straight back. They went down after a few years.
They spent to keep in the Champions League and they didn't keep, and it
just kind of everything kind of imploded on itself. But I don't think they'll say.
Did you hear the story about Seth Johnson?
No.
So Seth Johnson, he moved from Derby County to Leeds. He's a bit of like a defensive midfielder.
Oh yes, I remember Seth Johnson. Yeah, I do.
So he went to the club to do negotiations, and he thought he'd be offered 13,000 a week, so 3,000. They offered him 30, and he kind of like that. And the guy seeing his face going like that thought, I haven't offered enough. So he goes, I'll offer you 37. So he got like 3 times what he was offered. You know what I mean? Like they just that it's kind of one of the famous transfers in English football.
Yeah. I remember Seth Johnson very well.
Yeah, they kind of over pushed, which is such a shame because that team, that team with Harry Kewell that finished third, got in the Champions League. He didn't play much in the Champions League that year when they made the semis. Harry Kewell.
Okay.
He was injured for a large part of that season. So you almost wonder if he was fit and he could.
Yeah.
As he was before Ferdinand came, he was kind of their one genuine world class player, Harry Kewell.
Yeah. Yeah.
Viduka was borderline. Ferdinand at the time was borderline and coming into himself. But he didn't play very much that season when they got to the Champions League semi-finals and finished fourth. And you just wonder if a team loses its best player and it does that well, what could have been, you know?
Yeah. Well, we'll move on here a little bit. We'll finish off with manager of the season, Sean.
Yeah, I mean, there's three that stick out for me. Guardiola for turning the club around, got 12 points from 8 games. Then he goes, I think, 50 points from 54 out of 54. So there's that. I think Rodgers' job with Leicester to get them as far as they did is incredible. But David Moyes, I think, also deserves a mention for what he's done with West Ham. Best ever result for West Ham in the Premier League. Just got them playing, and they were quite like it was a good, entertaining style of football to watch as well. That team was probably symbolized more than anything, funnily enough, by Jesse Lingard. They had that sort of flair and effervescence that Jesse has in the game, and they had solidity behind. Good goalkeeper. So I'm gonna go just in regards to expectation versus result. I will go for Moyes because I think West Ham finished a lot better compared to expectations in the other teams than those other two.
I have to go Pep. I just have to go Pep. I think he's done brilliantly this season. I know, again, you can say he spent $1 billion. He spent more than some countries' defense budget on his own defense. But it's just been lethal. 25 games in a row. Ask any club with $1 billion. No team does that. No normal club does that. Yeah. And look, Pep has that Ferguson-esque quality. Win, 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 win. Liverpool are not going to win again. Not win again. They're not going to win or be as consistent as they are when for this long. And it's shown that Klopp can't hold it. No manager can hold the team together. You know, I think of it like a high-speed kind of train going down tracks. After a while, it starts to kind of wiggle, and you have to slow it down to repair the parts. Pep goes at high speeds and repairs at high speeds. If that makes sense. You know, so I think he's done brilliantly for me.
So I have no other option. Is a massive job. Yeah, and he definitely does. If it was either sort of Pep or Moyes getting it, I think that both of them are very worthy. One thing I wanted to say was the thing about Guardiola is he's managed for 12 years. He's won 9 league titles. He missed out his last season with Barcelona when Mourinho set the goal scoring record in Spain with Real Madrid with the BBC. Then his first season at City, but that's Claudio Bravo. I think Claudio Bravo's conceded 8 goals in a row from shots.
Yeah.
And then last season when Liverpool absolutely tore it up. So it takes a pretty superhuman effort, like a record-breaking effort to beat him. It's pretty unparalleled. Like Fergie did what was it? 13 titles in probably 20 years.
Yeah.
But Guardiola's done 9 in 12. You know, that it's incredible.
Significant.
I don't think they're talking about him being the greatest of all time. I don't like saying that while he's still managing, but he's definitely making an argument.
And we'll just finish off here with player of the season. I don't want to go too much into young player. I just want to go, who do you think has been the best player this season?
I think you got to start by looking at the champions. And I think one guy who made a big difference for them is Gundogan. I think that he added a lot. I think Ruben Diaz won, I think, the Riders Association of the year. He also made a big difference to the team as well. I would probably lean to Diaz. I think Diaz, just the City team that won the league this year is different to other City teams. The other City teams have sort of scored 100 goals, 90 odd goals, particularly under Guardiola. They only scored 83 this year, but their defense is the best in the league. And by about 3 goals from Chelsea, who are also very good defensively. So I think Diaz deserves a lot of credit for that. Coming in during the sort of COVID break, not really a preseason, didn't really know who he was playing with. I think he's got a lot out of Stones as well. So I'm gonna go with Diaz just because I think his impact on that team was massive.
I'm gonna go Harry Kane for me, man. I think getting double digits is a big fucking deal. And like I said, he's kind of developed into this. And I saw this about 2 seasons ago when Poch was beginning that cycle before they got in the champion. You know, I think it was the season they went to the Champions League final when I saw Kane kind of dropping into number 10. He was out right, he was out left, and it's scary to think what's going to happen when Bruno starts, not Bruno, De Bruyne starts passing to him, or even Bruno starts passing to him. You think the numbers now are good? I think next season's going to be immense. He's going to leave. I think. I think 100
I think
million.
he will leave if the thing is Levy will
Daniel Levy.
top
Daniel
dollar
Levy.
for him.
Yeah.
Levy will demand top dollar for him, but he's pretty much said he's leaving. And credit to him because they asked him to stay on. He's had an absolute blinder, but the club hasn't. So you can't be angry. You can't be angry at that. Like he's done the best that he possibly can.
This is not Pogba we're talking about. Yeah.
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 He's like, what else can Harry Kane do to make that team better?
Yeah.
You know, like, and you just hope that something happens that he gets that opportunity to do something. I hope he stays in England. I think he will. There's a lot of rumors that he's eyeing Alan Shearer's goal scoring record, and I think at his age he's ahead of where Shearer was at that age. So, and I think that the one big thing with Harry Kane is because he had to do a lot of grunt work at Tottenham and drop really deep at times and things like that. I think if he joins the City or United, he can spend more time further up the pitch. I think that's going to help him from a energy perspective in games. I think it's going to help him from an injury perspective as well. I think that, and the ability, like if he joins, say, United, the ability to rotate Cavani and Greenwood through that position as well will help him. I'm not sure if United will get a striker, to be honest, because I think there is a plan to anoint Mason Greenwood as soon as he's ready and keep Cavani there while he's there. But Mason needs to step up or they'll go into a striker. It's a difficult one because I do think United have found a gem in Mason Greenwood. But how he's not even 21 yet. So you may go get Harry Kane, who's 28 now. By the time he's 33, Mason Greenwood's 26. Is that the time that he steps up? It's an interesting conundrum for the club to have.
Yeah, absolutely. I just had a thought there with the thing for me for Mason Greenwood. I know we're talking about Harry Kane, but the thing for me with Mason, there just seems to be, and it's because he's 21. When he gets a bit older, we both saw Rashford in the last 4 or 5 years. He's become a bit of a gangster. I think that's the best way to put it. You see Rashford now; he takes no shit from anyone. He kicks and goes up, or he goes down when he needs to. And I think once Mason develops that kind of, I guess you call it street smarts, you'll see a whole different player. You'll see you'll see kind of a 15 to 20 goal a year striker consistently, and he'll be putting assists as well, Mason Greenwood, without a doubt. 2 feet, you'll be seeing him assist, and it's exciting stuff, man. But
it's amazing. If you ask, just on him with 2 feet, sorry to take away from that. Yeah. It's amazing. Like these guys are the best footballers in the world. It's amazing how many of them are one-footed. You think that footballers should learn how to like George Best used to be like that. Like why are these guys all one-footed? They're the best in the world. They're so limited because they've only got 1 foot. You know.
Yeah. Sorry, do you remember as well? I think it was in Football Manager as well. Like Wesley Sneijder has like perfect 5-star weak foot. It's like wow. But it's like, like you don't have to be David Beckham on both feet, but it's like you should be able to fucking hit a ball with both your feet.
Even when I played, I learned how to kick because I'm left-footed. I learned just how to hit a bailout pass with my right foot if I had to. I was a goalkeeper, so I'd always have more time on the ball than others. But I had to learn just how to kick a bailout kick with my right foot, just that hit the fullback or hit the touchline, you know?
Yeah. No, I didn't have anything else to say myself, but any closing thoughts, Sham? It's been a great league. We'll put a video out, I guess, in a day or two for the Europa League final, which we're hoping United
probably for both finals. I think we'll preview them together.
Are they? No, Champions League's next week. Am I right?
Saturday. Yeah.
Oh, it is Saturday. Okay, no worries.
The only other thought that I had, I did want to touch on one thing. I don't want to go into too much detail, but how do you solve a problem like Arsenal? My God. See, they've won their last 5 games. They finished ahead of Leeds in 8th. It's weird because they've got the 3rd best defensive record in the league, but they make stupid mistakes at the back. They've got great individual talent up front, but they've only scored 55 goals, which, like,
I'll tell you,
that's like 10th and equal 9th or 10th in the league. It's mid-table stuff, you know. Like,
I'll tell you how, man.
There's so many issues with Arsenal, and like, what do you pick apart to solve it?
Well, this is what Arsenal are now is what United were in the last season of Mourinho, where there's just so many things, or even the first season of Oli, that 1 or 2 seasons, so many problems. and it's all about who can we clear now. Why the fuck they went and bought David Luiz? Why? No, Arteta didn't buy him. Sorry, Unai Emery. No, Arteta did buy David Luiz.
Yeah.
Why buy David Luiz?
And Willian.
Why are you buying Willian? Why are you buying a player like if Liverpool? Let's say for example, it's like Liverpool buying Phil Jones. What the fuck are you doing, man? Your own players at your club going, we want to be better than Chelsea, not take their. It's about. I'm not saying he's a bad player. He's an unbelievable player, Willian. I wish United bought him about 3 or 4 years ago. But it's about we need to build. We need better players who aren't mistake prone. Players. We don't want players who want something just because they want something in the past. Okay, they're eligible to play for Arsenal. Arsenal are a top side, man. The institution of the Premier League, you know. If you talk about the 3 biggest sides,
titles of all time, they've got a big stadium, great support.
Absolutely. Why are you going to look at Chelsea? And it started from like, let's say the day when they got Peter Cech. Like, why are you looking at Chelsea to buy players, man? You should be go scout. Why isn't there? That's what happened when Moyes took over as well. There was the scouting networks just stopped. Why aren't you looking for players? Why are you just looking next door?
And that was we're not buying Wenger, wasn't it? Like he actually went and got a lot of
scout. Yeah.
Like Henry was like a discarded bench. He was like Kingsley Coman at Bayern Munich, but he was at Juventus at the time. They were like, oh, this guy, you know, he's supposed to be a striker. We were playing left wing. He can't play left wing, so we'll sit him on the bench type of thing. No one had heard of Robert Perez. You know, like there was a lot of players there that he just Colo Touré. No one knew who in the world Colo Touré was. Even when he came on the first time against Chelsea, the Chelsea fans were singing, "Who are you? Who are you?" They didn't know who he was. And then he scored a goal and they kept singing, "Who are you? Who are you?" Then he got sent off and they kept singing, "Who are you? Who are you?" So like just these random players that to our eye random that actually had great ability. They've lost that knack that they were well known for, particularly those sort of early days under Wenger.
Yeah. And I think the last thing as well, this is kind of I'm guessing here, but I think living in London, although it disproves itself for Chelsea, but living in London, there is this element of football comes a slight second to lifestyle, to the watches and the cars. And I guess this is a pure guess for me, you know, it could be that, but that would be secondary to the big problems of the club. But, you know, that could change.
It's a valid point. I'm not that big on the scenes. Like, I don't think the Liverpool nightclub scene or the Manchester nightclub scene would be the same as London. So it's a valid point.
No. Yeah. Anyway, on that note, we'll end it here. Lovely chat as always, Sean. Are you all good?
All good. It's a very interesting season. Euros coming. A lot of good football's coming.
Absolutely. So thanks so much for watching, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We are the 5-Yard Pass. My name is Suddy. This is Sham. Keep football simple, and as always,
keep passing, guys. Cheers.